Oh, you already started.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. He's a good dude. I'm not gonna lie.
king and his men stole the queen from her bed.
Touchdown!
Bound her in her bone.
Jones takes it
The seas be ours, and by the powers where we will roam.
What is good, Raider Nation? Welcome back to yet another episode of Raiders Live News Talk. I'm joined by my friends Dustin and Cortez. Say what's up, everybody.
Salute Raider Nation.
Salute Raider Nation. Salute Tuck Your Soul. The
Yep,
Menace.
salute.
John. Everybody
John.
that's up in the chat. All the mods. Everybody on the panel. And everybody coming. Appreciate
Yep.
all of you guys, man. And thank you for showing up like always.
Facts, yeah. Yeah, as always, salute to the members of this panel for showing up. Salute to the mods in the chat for holding it down. We wouldn't be able to do the show
Salute the Menace.
without you
Salute
guys, as always.
yourself.
And last but not least, thank you to our viewers for watching and commenting along with us. As we begin this broadcast, we got another great one for you guys. As always, just a quick reminder before we do get started.
Salute Al.
In just a couple minutes, our YouTube chatbot, which is called the Nightbot, will be posting various links to various platforms related to us here at DSR. So if you guys wouldn't mind keeping an eye out for those for that bot to make those comments and to just at your earliest convenience follow all of those links to tap in with us on all of those platforms, that would be greatly appreciated. And we do thank you guys in advance for that. Just to give you guys a quick rundown of the kinds of links that it will be posting, just so you guys know what to keep an eye out for. First and foremost, it's going to be posting a link to our YouTube channel, which we're currently broadcasting to, the Death Star Port YouTube channel. So if you guys haven't already, if you're on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, hitting the notification bell, like as many videos as possible, and commenting on as many videos as possible, that'd be greatly appreciated. The second link that it's going to give you guys is a link to our panel member and friend Cortez's personal YouTube channel, which we're also currently broadcasting to. Same deal there. If you guys haven't already, if you are on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind giving that channel a subscribe, hitting the notification bell, liking as many videos as possible, and commenting on as many videos as possible, that'd be greatly appreciated as well. Thirdly, it's going to give you the Nightbot is going to give you guys a link to our Twitch channel, the Death Star Port on Twitch. So if you guys haven't already, if you're on Twitch, if you wouldn't mind giving us a follow there as well, that would be greatly appreciated. Nightbot is also going to give you guys a link to our Instagram account, the Death Star Port on Instagram. So if you guys haven't already, if you are on Instagram, if you have an Instagram account, if you wouldn't mind giving us a follow and maybe throwing some likes on some of our posts, and maybe even sharing some of our posts, not only to your story, but to your friends over DMs, that'd be greatly appreciated as well. And last but not least, the Nightbot is also going to give you guys a link to our Discord channel, the DSR Discord server. So if you guys are on Discord, if you haven't already, if you have a Discord account, if you wouldn't mind following that link as well and joining us there at the Discord community, that'd be greatly appreciated as well. We'd especially like for you guys to keep an eye out for that link, the link to our Discord server, because we really consider that the heart of what we do here at DSR. It's a tremendous community. It's a great way to connect with people, not only over all things Raiders, but over a wide variety of topics. We obviously do have a Raiders talk channel where we talk about all things Raiders, but we also have a general chat. We talk about life in general. We talk about the NFL at large. We have fantasy leagues, both NBA and NFL. We're just now, speaking of which, starting up our fantasy leagues for the NFL season. And there will be a $25 or a reward given to, or cash prize given to the winner of each one of those leagues. And there's absolutely no buy-in, so zero risk, all reward if you guys do end up winning the league. Once again, that's another great way to bond with people over, having fun over fantasy football. So if you guys are into that, that's available in the Discord as well. And like I said, we also do have some NBA fantasy leagues as well. So when the NBA season rolls around, we'll get that started as well. If that's something that you guys are interested in as well, we also have that for you guys. We also talk about in that Discord server different sports leagues like the NBA, NHL, and MLB. We have promotional events like free giveaways. We have channels dedicated to all manner of Raiders content creators, not only over YouTube, but over other platforms like Twitter and Instagram. We also have free movie nights, which is a great way over a weekend night to just, all hop in the Discord and watch a great movie together. So that's a great way to spend a night, especially on the weekends. So that's another great thing that we have in there. And we also even have channels
That's gonna
dedicated
be coming
to
very
sports
soon.
updates through various
We're going to
platforms like
stream
Twitter
the
and
game
Instagram.
too on Sunday. We'll stream all the games too on Sunday.
Yeah. Sunday and regular
Oh, yeah, great.
season.
Okay,
We'll do
so
them
Yes.
in our game chat or game day chat.
Yep. Game Day BC,
Right,
all
exactly,
the
yeah.
games will be streamed.
Yep.
right, exactly. So yeah, so that's another great thing right now that the NFL season is rolling, is now coming back. We're now going to be having live streams of the games inside the Discord. So if you guys are unable to watch the game in any other way, or if you just like to hop in the Discord to watch with a bunch of us, as these two just said, the preseason game on this upcoming Sunday, we will be showing a stream of that.
Isn't
so like
it
I said,
4
that's a great
Pacific,
way.
Justin? I think it's 4 Pacific.
Yeah, I don't know the time right now. We'll post it in the Discord or talk about it Wednesday. I have no idea.
Right, yeah. Right, so that's even more reason to join the Discord as soon as possible so you guys can stay up to date with all the information regarding that. But like I said, throughout the NFL season, we will be hosting streams of the games inside the Discord. So like I said, just another great way to connect with a bunch of people as well as watch Raiders football as well as, in certain cases, games of other teams. So like I said, we got a whole bunch of stuff going on in that Discord. We'd love for you guys to join us there in that community. So just like all the other links, please keep an eye out for the Discord. The Nightbot to post a link to our DSR Discord server because we'd love to have you. It's the heart of what we do here at DSR, and we do thank you guys in advance for joining us at that community. So like I said, keep an eye out for the Nightbot to post links to the Death Star Port YouTube channel, the Nation Nightmare YouTube channel, the Death Star Port Twitch channel, the Death Star Port on Instagram, and last but certainly not least, as I just said, the DSR Discord server. So like I said, we do thank you guys in advance for keeping an eye out for those links and following those links and tapping in with us on all those platforms. And the Nightbot will, of course, be posting all these links multiple times throughout the duration of this broadcast, so you guys will have multiple opportunities to check out all these various links. So like I said, thank you guys in advance for tapping in with us on all those platforms. So with all that out of the way, and without further ado, let's begin our broadcast with our first topic. So obviously, at this point in the off-season program, and in particular at this point in training camp, the coaching staff of the Raiders is really looking to whittle down or at least make decisions with respect to who they think they're going to keep on the final roster by the time week 1 of the NFL regular season rolls around, and who they're going to release or have plans for maybe to re-sign to the practice squad, or to say nothing of things like trades and whatnot. So at this point in training camp, like I said, the Raiders coaching staff is really looking to figure out who is going to be a part of that final 53-man roster for the 2023 regular season. So as part of that, obviously, and Cortez, this is your topic if you want to get us started. There are going to be players that we're predicting or projecting are not going to make the final cut. So Cortez, what if you want to get us started
I
on
got
your
this
thoughts?
from Just One Baby podcast or Just One Baby. It's a
Mhm.
website. So the defensive end that we got undrafted, I think he played at Boise State. George or Tal, I forget how to pronounce his last name. They don't think he's gonna make it.
Tarlis.
Yeah, Tarlis ain't gonna make it. They say Chase Garbers won't make it. Dustin's boy, Bryce Crosby, won't make it. There's one more. I forget who it was. I'm gonna go look it up real quick.
Mhm. But yeah, I mean, any way you cut it, obviously, we're probably looking at a lot of outer sort of or outside kind of depth pieces as part of this roster right now, who probably will not make the cut, whoever they are. If those are if they're the exact names that you just mentioned, Cortez, or maybe some other guys that we might not have thought were going to be cut from the team originally.
And
But yeah.
Wilkerson, the right receiver, we don't need him on the team. That's an easy
Mhm.
no-brainer. Get rid of him off the team.
Hey, salute Ben. Salute Lunatic.
Bro, Ben.
Appreciate
What's
you guys,
good,
man.
Back.
Salute,
Salute to everyone
Lunatic.
who's coming now. Thank you for joining.
We'll get it.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, to your point, Cortez. I mean, the common theme amongst all the guys that you just mentioned, is, like I said, a sort of a position relatively low on the depth chart. Guys who, if the team did part ways with, not many would be either surprised or upset about it. So obviously, first and foremost, you mentioned quarterback Chase Garbers, who right now is probably QB4 for this team. And just because it's excessive to carry 4 quarterbacks on your final roster, especially if you have 3, 2 of whom already have experience with Josh McDaniels. It does seem as though Chase Garbers could very likely be the odd man out. Now,
and then going back to the first player, I said I forget how to pronounce his last name. I haven't heard no hype about him during OTA, training camp, nothing. So that's why I think that's a correct one too. He won't. And then Wilkerson, we don't need him because we're already or we got depth at right receiver, so he could go.
Right. Yeah,
Crosby
exactly. Yeah.
hasn't showed up either. Bryce Crosby has not showed up, and that's Dustin's boy from last year. Like he hasn't.
Right. Exactly.
There's nothing that's hyped him up during OTAs, minicamp, none of that, or training camp. So I think
exactly. So,
and them 4 may be the first to be gone, but it's all going to be done on the 29th, if I'm not mistaken. Now we only do.
And they're all low grade ass players, so it wouldn't be like it's shocking. Every one of them players are practice squad, probably all practice squad.
Yeah, bring back to the practice squad.
No, I'm saying that's what they are, practice squad players.
Yeah.
Wilkerson, old dude, fucking Crosby, UDFA dude, which he probably will go to the practice squad. Frickin' who's the other 2 guys?
Chase Garbers and
Tarlis, and then fucking
Chase.
Chase. I don't know. I mean, I think Chase would probably revert back to the practice squad too. But again, I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but that's just something to bring up. I seen that in the Raider news when I looked at Raider news this morning when you asked me to give you 2 topics, Dustin. So I came up with this. Who would your guys' let me just ask you guys this. Who would be your guys' 4 cuts you had to make?
Make 4 cuts in the deal right now?
Yeah, before the end of training camp. Because this is technically, they say they will not make it past training camp.
Let's see. Is Chris Lacey still on the roster?
Chris Lacey, I believe so. No.
Yeah, he was the one that got they got the interception on. He was the one that got the interception on in the first day when it was when Jimmy got the hurt foot or whatever people are saying, that they threw the interception on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, so between him and Christian Wilkerson, if I were to pick a receiver, it'd probably be between those two. I guess technically because Wilkerson is is behind Lacey on the depth chart. I guess I would go with Wilkerson.
Isn't he part of McDaniels though? Then isn't he used to be a Patriot before? I'm not for
Chris
sure.
Lacey?
Both of them. I think Wilkerson was too.
Well, I think they both played for the Niners most recently, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that, but I don't think either of them have.
I think Lacey was the one that was Kaepernick's quarterback or receiver when they were
Lacey was.
when they were doing the deals at the school and everything.
Oh yeah, he was with the Patriot. Wilkerson was.
Yeah, he was on the right. He was on the practice squad of the Patriots in 2018. Chris Lacey was, and then let's see about.
Yeah, just Blog Baby. Actually, it was just Blog Baby said this. That
Okay, and then
in the
so
coming days it could happen. My bad.
No, it's all good. Yeah, so and Christian Wilkerson actually played for he was part of the 53-man roster. He was not on the practice squad for the Patriots for 3 years in a row, including last year. So, honestly, given that, between the two, I would probably pick Chris Lacey to be cut between the two of them. Because then you think about it, the wide receiver core after that is Devontae Adams, obviously, Keelan Cole, Christian Wilkerson, Jacoby Myers.
Get rid of Keisha Cole. Keisha could go.
What?
His name is Keisha
This
Cole.
guy, I swear, sometimes, dude.
Well, I mean, look, as far as if I said, if I'm to rank these guys,
appreciate you, bro.
what seems to be, desire to stay on the team from McDaniels, an interest from McDaniels. Like I said, I mean, Chris Lacey seems to be the odd man out. I mean, you have Devontae Adams. You already have Jacoby Myers. That was a big wide receiver free agent signing this year. It seems like they would have traded Renfro already. Although I believe I've seen some ideas about them cutting him, but I don't think that's going to happen. You have other established, veteran receivers in DeAndre Carter, Philip Dorsett, Cam Sims, and then obviously you have draft pick and Trey Tucker, and then DJ Turner's kind of maybe on the fence, but I would say they might have some use for him, in special.
Put him back on the practice squad. I think he could go back to the practice squad. Is he out?
Yeah, well, I mean, any of these guys can go back to the practice squad even if they get cut. Yeah. So, I'm just saying, like, making the final 53-man. So, like I said, my number one would be Chris Lacey. Number two would probably be Chase Garbers for the reasons we already outlined. My third would be Cole Fotheringham, or between him and Shanker, the two tight ends, just because you're already dealing with four tight ends. I know this is McDaniels. This is a tight end heavy system and offense. So maybe he might keep one of them, but between the two of them, we saw Fotheringham a little bit in the preseason last year. So maybe McDaniels still sees something in him. But one of those two guys would probably be my third. And then at this point, honestly, I know, this might not be to the liking of some people, but given that Austin Walter just sustained an injury, he could very well be cut just due to the fact that, once again, as is, McDaniel's usual style, just with the tight ends, you have a lot of running backs involved in the offense too. So it's already a pretty crowded room at that position.
But then I guess I'm on IR. I think he's
I,
on
I think they did, but I mean,
Yeah, but you can still pay him and cut him.
let's see if they. Because to me, I mean, even if they did place him on injured reserve, but I
He
mean,
can still get paid and get taken off the team, dude. So
right, exactly. And I can't imagine he's making any kind of, significant amount of money. So, I mean, apparently the exact nature of the injury is unclear at this point. So, I guess you could use an IR spot on that, but because he's been placed in IR before the start of the season, he's not eligible to return and play for the Raiders in 2023.
It's the same
And
type
there's
of
already
deal that we did with McCormick, I think.
Yeah, right. I think it was the same thing. Like just place him on IR. So
Yeah.
I think you can still cut him. I don't know if there's some sort of rule with injured reserve and not being able to release him.
Didn't
But
somebody get picked up like last year, or we cut them and then they were eligible to play for the other team?
that's Frack Roll and Kaiser, but you
Yeah.
have to go. We pay them, then they get off team, but they have to go past a certain time in order to.
And clear their injury.
They have to go like past halfway or some shit, and then after that they'll be eligible for any team to be able to pick them up or whatever it is. Do past their injury deal or something, whatever. I don't know the full text.
Who's your four guys, Justin?
Tight end spot, maybe as tight end.
Who would be your four just before camp even ends?
That's a tough deal because you can hold all the players till the end of the camp, so or the end of the preseason.
The
So I mean,
29th. The 29th and
the last game of the preseason, you're allowed
almost
to
20
hold on
days,
the game.
20 days to go.
I mean, before it's gonna be tough by the end of camp. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna cut that many people all at one time. They don't have any reason to. They'd have to have 4 players that they were either looking at in free agency, things like that. And I think we even still have an open spot right now on the roster. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be a tough one to determine that before we get out in the next few days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, release Tarlis and them just because, I mean, Chase, I mean, I don't see them cutting Chase before the end of the camp. I mean, there's just no way possible, man.
Well, they would probably, if anything, they would probably.
He's going to go into the preseason for sure.
Oh, you mean they won't cut him until the final
Then
cuts?
the preseason, yeah. I mean, if he's getting cut, it ain't going to happen until until week 3 after the preseason. There's no reason not to have him on the roster. That's why I'm saying it's just going to be too hard to just label 3 people right off. I mean, right away. Because I can't really see any of them, to be honest with you, outside the guys you guys said. I mean, I know who I would cut. Willis, Bolton, Long, and Grant. But it doesn't mean that they're going to be cut before preseason. I mean, I know they'll be part of the cuts, but
Yeah, but this is
I
gonna
think
be
it's too hard to just
the final day for cuts is gonna be the hardest for everybody in the NFL.
I think by the time you're at that point and you see the games, it'll be pretty easy. I mean, you're gonna see the guys that separate themselves and the guys that ain't, so.
No, we don't.
I mean, it would just depend. I mean, I might tune in on it for sure. Salute, AJ.
Salute, AJ.
No, isn't it tomorrow? I think tomorrow's the first
Yeah,
episode.
tomorrow.
Right? But yes, I
Uh,
definitely. You gotta tune in to Hard Knocks. That's must-see television every year. I wish they did the Lions again. I just want it to be the Lions under Dan
Hey,
Campbell.
freaking Dan Campbell, man, that guy is something else. That coach.
Yeah,
He's crazy. Hey, ours was crazy too with the AP situation.
yeah. Well, that was crazy for the wrong reasons.
And freaking Jonathan Abram, it was just crazy.
It was crazy stuff, but lucky to have that behind us. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, so okay, what size is the roster at right now?
89, I think, if I remember right. Due to depending on who other teams cut to sign. Yeah, that's what I think, freaking for sure. Seems like they didn't want to do Hard Knocks. They were forced to do Hard Knocks. I mean, they have to do it. It's not forced. I mean, they were one of the candidates, and they picked them.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever the case may be, obviously, as we've all said, guys who are relatively low on the depth chart, guys who are probably not going to be that surprising. It's not going to be that surprising when they do get cut. Those are probably the kind of guys who, obviously they tried to compete for that last roster spot, and weren't able to. So yeah, I mean, to me, like I said, I mean, offensively, it seems pretty clear just based on the pecking order of things and lack of hearing anything at all, let alone anything good, anything at all, from a lot of certain guys, especially on offense. I would say that it should be pretty easy to narrow down, or at least within plus or minus a player or two, who is probably going to get cut before the final, before the full 53-man roster is set for week 1 of the regular season. But to me, and this is sort of interesting, I don't know if you guys would want to weigh on this, but looking at the depth chart from a defensive perspective, because like I said, offense, it seems pretty clear. Defense, I'm not exactly sure who they're going to move on from. I mean, like I said, I mean, maybe some guys are obvious, as you guys mentioned. Tarlis, he probably, especially with the fact that they have enough talent between Tyree Wilson and Chandler Jones
And
at that
plus,
right end spot.
and do
What's
not
up?
forget Adam Plant either. Adam Plant's gonna be a lot. That guy is showing out. He's a good player
Yeah,
too.
right, exactly. So, at that position, the relatively crowded room, that particular position, once again, I mean, I guess David Agoa, just because he was that sort of low risk international player that they selected. Although I don't believe it takes up if some sort of weird rule, right, where it doesn't take up a roster spot, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. So.
I don't know if it doesn't count against the 90. I don't know if,
Okay.
and I think it does count against the 53 because
Okay.
Seattle had a player from Germany, I believe, last year.
It only counts against the 53 if he's active on it.
Yeah, I forget how that works. I gotta ask.
If he's on the practice squad, it doesn't count against it. He could have 91 players. If he is active on the roster, then he will count against the roster for sure.
And does anybody know how he's doing? Because isn't this like his first year playing?
I don't know how he's doing, to be honest with you. I haven't heard anything about him. Yeah, exactly. I haven't either.
I want to see if he's gonna get some playing time. He should get some playing time.
You're still talking about Agoa, David Agoa?
Yeah. What number is he? Does it show you on there, Jeff?
don't think it shows me the number, but oh, actually, no, he's 62.
All right, 62. I'm gonna look for 62 on Sunday. See if he gets some burn.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I haven't. I certainly haven't heard anything from him. Doing a quick internet search right now. The most recent thing I see here is from May. So, um, yeah, I mean, like I said, um, I don't, if you haven't heard anything, it probably means he's not making that much of an impression either way. So,
Yes,
like I
Hobbs,
said,
Malcabrisi, Hobbs will be in the slot.
yes, yeah, and we should get to that topic in a little bit too because that's important to talk about. I think. I mean, but obviously, guy at Hobbs level is nowhere near being cut, so that's not for this topic. But um, yeah, I mean, yeah, just as far as Agoa goes, like I said, I mean, I don't know if they will cut him. I don't think I would be surprised if they do. Um, because once again, you also think about the DN position. Obviously, Max on the other side. It's Max or Chandler. Any way you cut it, if they move him to either side. Obviously, you're getting Tyree Wilson back in apparently a little while. Outside of that, you still have guys like Malcolm Kuntz. Guys that they just went out and got, such as Isaac Rochelle, Jordan Willis, and as Cortez said, Adam Plant. He's apparently showing some promise. So, um, it seems a little too crowded for them to keep a guy like that. So I would probably say, guy like that is probably going to be cut. Maybe a corner. You guys, I mean, have you heard anything about Ike Brown? I would probably predict him to be cut as well if I were making.
Yeah.
Did you say that Adam Plant's gonna get cut?
No.
No, that he won't. What I'm saying is,
Oh.
Agoa, yeah, like Agoa is behind all of those guys. So you're probably looking at, like I said, I really wouldn't be surprised if he were to get cut. Like I said, it's cool that they use the international, what's I think called the International Pathway Program. It's cool that they using
What's good,
went through
Charles?
international channels to get him, but I just don't know if it makes a lot of football sense to carry him.
Salute, Charles.
Um,
Salute, Breezy.
but
Yeah.
what do you guys think about linebackers? Who are some because this is where to me it gets interesting as far as who they're
Curtis,
gonna. Yeah, Curtis Bolton.
Curtis Bolton, maybe Darian Butler, because I haven't heard nothing on him really.
Right.
How's he doing?
Yeah, I mean, you think about guys like obviously Robert Spillane. He's probably going to be one of the anchors of that linebacker room. Darius Harris, who's obviously been a pretty good player at the NFL level, pretty established vet at this point. That's the guy they just went out and got. Divine Diablo, he should be back and healthy. Luke Masterson, obviously, is the guy they liked. It's shown promise dating back to
And then I'll
last
forget
year.
about Bernie and then Thomas, isn't it?
Yeah, Drake
Thomas.
Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah, Drake Thomas. So that's gonna be a good one to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'd probably agree with you. Darian Butler and Curtis Bolton are probably the two guys on the outside looking in.
Easiest to be off, and then the rest is gonna be out of Luke Masterson, Thomas.
I mean, Butler will go to the practice squad. Bolton will probably be cut. That's probably how that'll go because you'll have Spillane, Diablo, Masterson, Bernie, and Thomas. So it'd be 5. Then where you'd keep Bolton there. I mean, you got to remember there's numerous dudes here eligible for the practice squad, and Butler was one of the players that came in last year when everybody got hurt, so I can just see him throwing them away unless he's just doing horrible. Bernie's a draft, and Thomas has obviously been talked about a lot in the lot out there. So Bolton, he's played in the deal. I mean, I said it a minute ago. I think they'll cut him too for sure. It's tough because you got a lot of young people there. I mean, you got all young kids. I mean, Butler, Bernie, Thomas, Bolton would be the odd one out in that one. I would think.
Right, and then you think about the somewhat disappointing 2022 campaign for Darian Butler. For that reason, I'd probably say I wouldn't be surprised if they cut him as well. But yeah, because to me those are probably the two that stand out. Although to me it was tough, just because I still wouldn't mind having those two guys on the team. But when you look at the rest of the linebacker room, it probably makes the most amount of sense to cut those guys if you had to get down to 53 ultimately. Were there any other cuts that you guys were maybe anticipating, or guys we should look out for, maybe just to try to stand out in preseason to try to save their job or anything like that? You guys have any takes on anything like that?
I mean, Curtis on the line. I seen that fool. He got kicked. The ball dude had to catch it, and that fool caught that shit. So I think that, like I said, O lineman Curtis. There's going to be certain people out there that are going to be looking good. I mean, there's a lot of people that are looking good right now, to be honest.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, with everybody, Jimmy throwing 7 interceptions, this, that, and the other over the last few days in camp, and all these things, but they've also had a lot of good reps with touchdowns, things of those factors. So, I mean, part of me feels like the defense is finally showing up. Like, that's what I kind of feel like. I feel like the defense is showing up. It's a tough defense to go against because you're getting a lot of tip balls, a lot of interceptions, a lot of breakdowns. I mean, dudes are on top of their shit now. So, like I said, I think it's just a lot of different things back and forth, players being cut and stuff. I mean, again, they're going to be able to hold on to them until the end of the preseason. So, guys right now, it'd just be too tough to determine, I mean, in my opinion, because where like Curtis or somebody, that dude can end up popping up there right behind Parham. Wagner, don't know how he's been doing since he's had pads on. Like people are saying bars, but I think that dude's gonna get cut. So
they have bars leading the way right now.
Yeah, well, he can lead the way all he wants. I still feel like he'll end up getting cut sooner or later. That's who I think for sure. I don't even have him.
I mean, obviously,
did you say they have bars over Moody? No, I don't believe that bullshit. I don't believe that at all.
I mean, in general, I mean, Alex Bars wasn't that bad. He had that one really bad game, I think, was against the Rams, if I'm not mistaken.
He had a 44 fucking pass block rating. He sucked dick. He most definitely sucked dick.
I mean, I'm not saying he's all pro or anything, but I mean, look at the depth chart. I guess simply because you might not want to leave yourself too shallow at right guard. They're working, I think, with 3 right now, between Bars, Moody, and Vitaly Gurman. Between those 3, if you had to make a cut at right guard, I would cut Gurman. Just because, like I said, I mean that he's the least established of the 3, as far as I know. But like I said, having O-line depth might not exactly be the worst thing. But at the end of the day, you still have to make 37 cuts to this roster as it stands right now between now and the beginning of the season. So, I mean, looking at this, at this roster, like I said, he would probably go of the right guards. Circling back to running backs, I mean, obviously, huge question mark is Josh Jacobs and what his final status is going to be with the team, if he takes up a roster spot or not. But assuming that he does, I think they might have to make a decision at running back just because that's a relatively crowded room in terms of the sheer number of people, in that position, playing that position right now on the roster as it stands right now. So um, that's something to look forward to, or look to see as well as far as what the team ends up doing. But were there any other predictions for guys who are not going to make the cut, or any other things that you'd like to add to this topic from either of you?
Nope.
Nope. Let's
Um,
move on.
all right, cool. All right, yeah. So, like I said, I mean, we're gonna have to see how it all plays out. Obviously, this first preseason game, as well as the other two that follow it, for this team are going to be very telling as far as who is probably going to get cut and who is going to make the final roster. So, obviously, we're going to be watching intently to various guys on the down in the depth chart who are going to have a chance to perform um, in this coming preseason to see if they fit the mold of what this coaching staff wants for this team moving forward. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye out for as preseason begins and as we progress through training camp as well, obviously. So why don't we segue in this topic? It's Al's ghost topic, and maybe he'll show up as we move through this topic. But I just wanted to go on to this topic as well, just because, obviously one of the biggest, I would say, headlines of training camp in the recent news for the Raiders is that obviously with the struggles of Jimmy G, coupled with it seems like every day we're hearing something positive about Aiden O'Connell, who's obviously younger, therefore healthier. Seems to be clicking what this coaching staff wants from him. Are we going to see a potential quarterback battle between Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy G? I mean, obviously, things that would change if one of these two were to get injured, and especially given the injury struggles of Jimmy Garoppolo throughout his career. That could certainly
No,
be a
Jimmy
reality.
G's gonna keep his
Yeah.
position. Jimmy G's gonna be starter.
Okay, so you don't believe that Aiden O'Connell will find his way to being QB1
Not
unless
this
an
year.
injury were to occur. Okay,
Not this year.
and why do you think that would be?
Because Cortez is a big Jimmy G fan, and I believe Jimmy G will take us to the promised land. Look,
Okay, I mean,
he's showing that money right there. He got money, and
he
he's
does
gonna
have
go to
money.
the Bunny Ranch, go get him a chick, put her up in the suite, and that's all we're gonna need. And Jimmy G's is gonna lead us into the playoffs. Hey, this is gonna be so hilarious if we get in the playoffs and we win one game, and Derek never did that. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first and foremost, whether it's short term or long term, what you're looking ultimately from to see from your quarterback is the ability to lead in the playoffs. But obviously, first of all, you have to make it to the playoffs, which involves the regular season, which obviously involves staying healthy throughout said regular season. But at the same time, as I'm sure you're keeping in mind, Cortez, the playoff record and resume of Jimmy
Mean a lot.
Garoppolo is a lot. It's a lot better than Derek Carr's. Obviously, I mean, we're talking about one guy with multiple playoff wins versus a guy who's 0-2 all time and yet to win a playoff game, or even
Yeah,
host one for that matter. So,
yeah, I feel the
but
same way, Ozzy. Yep. It's only if Jimmy G gets hurt that he loses his job.
okay, thank you guys for the comments. But yeah, Dustin, was there anything you wanted to add as far as if you could see a quarterback battle sort of brewing between Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy G for the starting job? Or
Hey, I've said it, dude. I mean, I'm gonna roll with it the whole time. I think Aiden probably will get that job sooner or later, no doubt about it. And I think that he's gonna play better. I think he is better, and I think fucking, like I said, Jimmy's obviously has more playing time in the NFL, has game experience, thing of them
Mhm.
field. The difference is Aiden's young and hungry, dude. Like he's dangerous. You don't know what he can do. You don't know. He could be bad or he can be great. So for me, I've said it. I said when the draft was over, I said I put the bid on it for $1,000. I said that my intentions was Aiden was going to be the quarterback for the season to begin with. So, and if we're just going to bid money, and if a guy walked up and said, "Hey, 100 right now," that Jimmy gets hurt this year, I'm gonna be like, "Here's 100." You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna get my 100. So, like I said, I've said the whole time, I think Jim or Aiden is gonna be the quarterback, and I don't know if it'll be before camp or not. Obviously, it's not gonna be before the season. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna roll Jimmy into the season no matter what. So at the end of the day, they're not going to move off of that. The thing is how good is Jimmy playing in week 3, 4? Is he straight plummeting? Is he not playing consistent in the games? Does he look like shit? They're going to go with, I think they would go with Aiden at that time. I mean, I think the purpose of Hoyer is, like I've said, he's here to teach the system, be part of it. If you're in the end of the season trying to look to win games, you can look to him, but if he comes in at the beginning of the season, he ain't winning no fucking game, like taking us to a playoff. So I think at that point, like I've spoke numerous times, then I think you have to go with Aiden 100% just because of the fact that you need to know who the hell he is. So when we go into this upcoming draft, that we can get a good fucking quarterback out of there because there's plenty of them going to be in there. So do I see a quarterback deal brewing? Yes, I've said it since fucking Jimmy's been in his injury and ain't played since last year, and Aiden had first team reps and still getting first team reps, and people are saying that he's fucking bombing out, looking good as fuck on the deep ball, all kind of shit. Like, hell yeah, I've been saying it the whole time. Ain't no news to me.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, to me, the unfortunate thing is that Jimmy Garoppolo presents a high risk. Um, he represents a good deal of risk for this coaching staff because obviously this was their big quarterback free agent signing, and they're going to want to, as you point out, Dustin, really give him as much time to grow into the offense and try to flourish as possible because they've spent a considerable amount of money on him. I believe it's already $45 million guaranteed as long as he passes the physical before week 1. So obviously, this was their big quarterback move that they made this offseason. They're going to want to try to get him going. And so to start off the year, it's pretty clear at this point that this quarterback battle, a true competition for that QB1 spot, will not occur, if at all, until several weeks into the regular season. Now at that point, if the team is underperforming, if they're under 500, they haven't gotten off to the greatest of starts out of the gate. This is where the high risk comes in as far as I can tell, as I'm concerned. On the one hand, you might have pressure from the owner in Mark Davis, who, as we already know, last year, even though it was just his first year, he was only a couple games into his tenure with the Raiders. He was already having closed door meetings with Mark Davis. We can only imagine what went on during those meetings, but it could have very well been, entailing or involving Mark Davis sort of expressing his displeasure with the way in which things have been going. So the question kind of becomes how much pressure will McDaniels and Ziegler be in or be under should they start out the season slow and lackluster to begin the season. So on the one hand, they'll have that pressure to maybe make a change at quarterback. And obviously the natural choice behind Jimmy Garoppolo would be to elevate Aiden O'Connell. and see what the rookie can do, as we've seen, several times throughout NFL history. You have the young quarterback, usually is a rookie, guy that you just drafted. He's behind a more experienced veteran, but who's not cutting it. And then when you finally do activate that new rookie, he ends up playing a lot better than the veteran. Now, like I said, for Jimmy G to be benched for any reason other than injury would be, to me, I think the coaching staff would be hesitant to do that just because, like I said, they spend a lot of money on him. So I think they'd really, really have to be very sure that he is not going to take the Raiders to where they need to be before they end up doing that. Because unlike most of these situations in which, like I said, you have the veteran quarterback um, who's not cutting it, and then he finally gets replaced by the younger quarterback who's supposed to be the future of the team. In those cases, a lot of times those veteran quarterbacks are not signed to the kind of contract that Jimmy G was signed to this offseason. So for that reason, like I said, I mean, you have on the one hand the pressure of really trying to make sure that your big quarterback move worked and was worth it. And on the other hand, you might have the pressure from a guy like Mark Davis from the standpoint of if Jimmy G's not cutting it, then a change probably needs to be made. And the biggest and most obvious change would be at quarterback. So, like I said, I mean, the way in which the contract is and the way in which it's structured, there is a great deal of risk, I would say, as far as Jimmy G. If it works well, great. If not, then you'd have a guy who's on the bench who's taking up a considerable amount of the cap. So, like I said, I mean, the Raiders would really have to be sure, in my opinion, that Aiden O'Connell will 120% be better for this team than Jimmy Garoppolo before any kind of a real competition for that QB1 job really starts to materialize at all. But other than that, like I said, I mean, I think for now and for the foreseeable future, Jimmy Garoppolo will be the quarterback of this team. So hopefully Jimmy G can clean up the turnovers. I mean, obviously, what we've been hearing from training camp with the turnovers have been an issue for him. He's been throwing a lot of interceptions. Hopefully he'll be able to clean that up. And like I said, training camp interceptions are usually in and of themselves nothing to really be worried about. It's sort of, especially for a guy just coming in to a new team, new system, guys he's never thrown to before. There's going to be a learning curve. He needs time to understand their tendencies, which will obviously he'll get better at understanding those aspects of the offense and the personnel around him as the season and as practice progresses. So, like I said, I think for the foreseeable future, we can put somewhat of a pause on this idea of a quarterback battle, but I wouldn't rule it out by season's end, especially if, like I said, 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks into the season, Jimmy G is either hurt or he's not cutting it from a performance standpoint. So, once again, another big thing we're going to have to keep an eye out for at some point, sort of keep tabs on Aiden O'Connell and how he ends up performing and hopefully, like I said, whoever the Raiders decide to go with at whatever point in time, hopefully that will be the best decision for the team as a whole. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to add to this topic before we move on?
No.
Word. Cortez, you good on this topic, or would you like to add anything else?
Let's
Cortez?
move on to the next one.
Word.
Let's just move on.
Okay. Yeah, Cortez, why don't we go to your second topic, which is so a bit of good news as well. Byron Young, obviously the defensive tackle that the Raiders drafted in this past NFL draft, is now coming off the physically unable to perform or PUP list. So Cortez, do you want to elaborate on your feelings on this?
I feel like this is a good time to come off the PUP list because you will be you're technically ready, but you're not actually in Just work your way back, and it's perfect timing. We got a game Sunday, so they took him off a week before that game. He came off of it yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So it's gonna work out wonders for us,
Um,
and we could use him too now. I think he came off
yeah, I believe it was
yesterday.
yesterday.
Yeah, see, a week before
Yeah,
our
he
game.
did.
Yeah, I think it's gonna help his confidence too to get some actual playing against somebody else, not against his own teammates. During these joint practices too are gonna help him too get up to the speed that he's missed 2 weeks now of training camp. And I
Hmm.
think it's a great idea to bring him up because he was our third round pick. We need him to actually get some playing time to show what he has.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, I mean, the Raiders drafted him for a reason, and as you mentioned, Cortez, they drafted him relatively high for a reason. They're going to. I think Byron Young is hopefully at least part of who this coaching staff, as well as GM Dave Ziegler, um, part of who they all feel is part of their solution at defensive tackle. I mean, obviously, you have guys like Bilal Nichols and Jerry Tillery, who struggled last year, especially when it came to the run. So, um, you still have guys like Neil Farrell and Matthew Butler who are still kind of question marks because despite being drafted last year, they never saw the light of day as far as the field was concerned. Um, so those guys might be, two guys who could pose a threat to Byron Young's playing time. Um, but in one way or another, I think this team really is going to need to start to, begin to shore up that middle of the defensive line, especially when it comes to stopping the run up the middle, in between the tackles, if you will, because obviously that's going to be a big part of establishing a solid defense throughout, not just individual good players or a defense that does a couple things well. Obviously your defensive line in the middle, your interior linemen, um, are going to be big factors when it comes to good defense. So obviously, Byron Young, we're sort of looking for him to maybe be this newcomer, young guy who, obviously, he's shown some promise based on his performance in college, especially over the last couple years of his career. But yeah, I mean, I presume he's going to get at least some
And
action
and go to
in this.
Loon's last comment too. He says that he could play edge too.
He was one dude. He was graded just as good as Carter.
Yeah.
So I mean, when it came to pressures, fucking getting after it, dude, like Young ain't no fucking slouch whatsoever. I mean, this
Hell
dude's
no,
gonna
he
wreak
just needs
havoc
to
on
get
people, dude. Like
he just
that's
needs
the
to get
thing.
on the field and show them because
Yeah,
he hasn't
exactly.
been
And I
able
mean,
to
you
since.
can't impress from the fucking locker room, dude. So it
Yep.
doesn't matter who you are. So once he gets like he is cleared, he's been cleared since yesterday. He's gonna get back out there, get acclimated, get in there and start playing. He'll come in, play through the preseason. I mean, same with Willis. The minute that Wilson is cleared, he's gonna start
I
doing the
think
same
he's gonna
exact
be
thing.
cleared
So
sometime by this week to
he's
come
day to
off.
day at the
Yeah.
moment. So we'll see.
So I mean, presumably Byron Young will at some point get some action in the preseason in these preseason games.
He may get it as soon as Sunday.
Yeah, he might. I would say he would be the least like out of these three games. This upcoming game would be the least likely
Who Young?
opportunity for him to see some action, just because they might want to ease him into coming out the public because that's serious, right? I mean,
Oh yeah. Did you say Young? Young ain't gonna go out there and play right now. I can't see that. You'd most definitely want to wait it out. I mean, what kind of injury did he have to get on the list to begin with?
They
And
didn't
then
say what type. They
yeah,
don't
that's
say
what I'm
what
saying.
type.
And then he comes out, goes back in. Like I wouldn't even risk it. And then I would have to see how he plays I would have to see how he plays throughout the week to even determine it, because today is Monday, so I mean, you do got a week
So,
long time to see, but
but,
I
but
would
they have
still
joint
say wait
practices
till
too.
next. I would still have to say like wait till next week just to be safe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, a
you
lot
know,
of people's gonna hype up Carter regardless. That's a Georgia Bulldogs defense over there. They're all gonna hype up Carter because Carter has his former college teammates there with him.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play in this first week of preseason. That sort of, obviously it depends on the severity of his injury, but I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of try to take the approach of easing him back into, full contact. It is obviously good news that they've taken him off the pup list, but you know, um, with these two extra games in the preseason, I think there is enough time for him to really get back up, into shape. I mean, obviously, if he plays the first preseason game um, this coming Sunday, that's even better. All the power to him. But um, I just don't. I wouldn't really, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play. And I don't know if it's worth it because this is obviously a guy that they've invested in, obviously a draft pick in.
That's what
This
I'm
is a guy,
saying. I wouldn't. It ain't gonna be worth it.
right? Um, obviously, coming off injury, he does have a little bit of catching up to do as far as, getting back up to speed, being NFL ready, especially as a rookie. You're going to want to be as ready for week one as possible, just because this is an entirely new level of play that you're entering into. So, these next several weeks, I think, for him are going to be critical. But, especially as a run stopping defensive tackle guy up the middle, I think there is a lot of promise here. And hopefully, he can, in the very least, be a critical sort of rotational piece um, for this defense, especially when it comes to trying to correct one of the biggest issues that this defense had dating back to last year, which was stopping the run up the middle. So, um, hopefully gets a speedy recovery. And if we do see him this week, if not, the week after that, more power to him. But, obviously seeing a relatively high draft selection come off the pup list, that is very good news. Now, obviously, he can practice and hopefully he'll be as ready to go as possible come week one. Um, but was there anything else you guys wanted to add to this topic?
No, I think fucking.
Nope. Let's move on.
I think he'll be a good piece to get back once he gets healthy, and we can add him to our team for sure. I mean, like I said, he's going to be a big piece of that inside front for the DTs to begin with. So, and the more he's out, the more that Jay's going to keep getting more and more reps in there to be able to go up in there to begin with. So, and I think Jade, man, like I've said it from day one, that dude's going to fucking be in there. Watch, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, like I said, I mean, he has some catching up to do, but I think the upside is definitely there. Based on what we saw, especially with when it came to stopping the run last year in college, one of the best to do it in the SEC. To say nothing of college football as a whole. So hopefully, as always, we wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he's able to make the impact that this coaching staff and that we as fans hope he can make for this defense. Salute, Sergio. Thanks for coming in.
And salute, guys. Salute to
Yeah,
everyone in the
bro.
chat.
Yeah, so real quick, we were about to end our topic on Byron Young coming
Salute,
off the pup
Sergio.
list. Was there
Congratulations on
anything you
your
wanted to add to that
1K.
topic before we move on to another one?
Salute, bro.
Oh yeah, Byron Young. Really excited about that. Rookie, but heck of versatile lineman. Can play on the edge, can play in the inside. That's going to help out the defensive line a lot. the defensive line has just been getting a ton of good news against the offense, specifically against the offensive line. But that doesn't mean the offensive line's bad. The offensive line has also been getting really good news. So it's kind of what I like that I'm hearing at training camp. Offense and defense just going back and forth against each other. That's all I have to say to that topic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we're all pretty much in agreement. Obviously Byron Young, we're hoping in the very least he'll be a solution to a lot of this defense's problems up front, especially in the interior. To say nothing of, as you guys have mentioned, his potential ability to play on the outside, which would obviously make him even more versatile. So great to have him back, at least as far as being off the PUP list, and hopefully he can either show his medal in the preseason or sometime in the regular season, make a meaningful appearance to help out this defense. But with that, Sergio, why don't we segue to one of your topics? So, obviously, one of the other sort of, I don't know if you want to say concerns, but one of the sort of battles as far as within a certain position room that's sort of been something worth talking about throughout this offseason is the cornerback room. So
Yeah. So
go for it.
So it seems like right now what everyone's just reporting is if the season started right now, it would be Peters, Jacorin on the outside, Hobbs in the slot, and then for like backups, it would be Brandon Faison. Now, like, say if like those are the first four guys, right? If they're doing 5 or 6 corners on this team, who's going to be winning those like 1 or 2 final spots? Because now it's getting like super competitive, especially how good like the secondary, like how much good news is coming out of the secondary. Now it's getting a little more difficult because like there's been like reports that like Amik Robertson's balling out, but his problem is that he's not as versatile, or like they'll take him out whenever it's kind of like the big play routes. Sam Webb's has been doing really good. He's been having a really good training camp. The coaches love him. They want to keep him. Duke Shelley, he hasn't really been talked about as much now. Like ever since like after the first week, like now he's just been kind of like, I don't know, like he kind of like fell off the face of the earth. No one's really talked about David Long that much. So like now it's kind of like it's getting a little more tricky on like who's going to be the starting corners in that room for some people.
What happened? Did he freeze?
No, I didn't freeze. I just finished my sentence.
Oh, not you, man. So what are you thinking that are going to be your starting corners?
So I already put like Hobbs, Peters, Jacorin, and then Faison, and then I'll just name like 2 because I don't know if they're going to keep 5 or 6. I'll have it be Tyler Hall, and then I'll have it be Sam Webb.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Peters, Hobb, Bennett. That'll be your 3. Then it'll be Faison, probably Shelley and Roberts, so 6 players. and then Webb Hall would just go to the practice squad. And then you could just rotate him out if you needed to. Players of injury or whatever it may come down to, but I think the more and more Robertson keeps playing in camp and showing up, man, I mean, it's going to be hard not to bring him back, because the thing you got to always count at the end of the day is he's a 53-man player, for the roster. So he's not just a practice squad player trying to come over there, or a UDFA player trying to come over there. He's an actual 53-man. So, like, he could be the last on there and be looking to be cut off. But, I mean, fuck, he's gotten interceptions again here in camp, dude. I mean, as much as every time I hate to even bring this dude up because I want him gone, it just feels like he doesn't want to be gone. And, like, even by that message that he told you on the deal, it just seems like
motivated this dude.
Yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes that shit happens. Sometimes that shit happens,
The nickname that they're giving him now is the Lone Wolf now, since I guess he knows, like, he's the odd one out and everything.
Hey, salute, Pena. Appreciate you, bro.
So Meek Robertson, his nickname now is just the Lone Wolf.
Yeah, I just think Amika is gonna be he can be Lone Wolf. I mean, I've always said, I've counted him out numerous times. At the end of the day, Webb's still a UDFA player. No matter if Devontae's talking him up, doesn't mean he's gonna get a roster spot. To be a practice squad player, I mean, I can most definitely see it. I haven't heard shit about Long. I said the whole time, I just don't think Long is going to make it. Even if they cut Cosby, I mean, I still think Hall, like I said, if Webb and Hall go to the practice squad, it'd be just fine. Because even Shelley, Robinson, Faceum, Bennett, Hobbs, Peters, I mean, that's all good. That's a good-ass team right there. You know what I mean? Like, and then we're sitting here talking about, Hall, Webb, you could probably even have Ike Brown, all be on the practice squad. I mean, that's still good players to come in and take over if something was to happen. So, for me, I think frickin', as much as I've said I don't want Robertson there, I just think he's going to end up there at the end of the day. I just have a feeling. He knows the system now, 2 years. He's always just showing up, man. It's the only thing. He's just always showing up. I think if you pull him out at the right moments, he won't hurt your team. But if you're trying to go face him up on Johnson one-on-one over there going to the end zone, well, fuck, he's going to get his ass burnt, bro. So that's all I'm saying,
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
it's very impossible.
Meek presents.
It is very impossible at this point to get rid of a Meek, even if you wanted to. It's like when you try to kill a cockroach.
Hey, motherfucker, step on that motherfucker, smash it, thinking that it's gonna squish the guts out of that bitch. He just pops up, takes off running. You're like, what the fuck? This fucking guy. I swear it's so funny that he just said that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in one respect, that's a good thing, right? Because that's what training camp is about. You want to see who's going to play well and who's not, who's showing like they want to be there, who's showing like they deserve to be at the top of the depth chart, and who doesn't deserve that. So, on the one hand, you love the heart, right? And I've spoken about this before, that maybe there's a sort of a quality about him, and I think we saw a little bit of that last year, especially in that post Broncos game last year, where he has this sort of like heart and energy to him, to the point where you can sort of view him as a spark plug on defense. Like maybe it's a guy who, you know, could come in and make a couple big plays, to the point where it might energize, and galvanize the rest of the defense, which obviously is important for them to operate together as a, as a successful unit on defense. But um, yeah, I mean, on paper, it's more than on paper, but um, the lack of height is something that obviously concerns all of us. I mean, as Dustin mentioned, you know, especially given a lot of these tall receivers that this team is going to go up against. Uh, Obviously, there's a height mismatch. There's a disadvantage there, and we saw that firsthand, especially when it came to the touchdown he gave up last year against Keelan Cole. Excuse me, Keenan Allen. Obviously, like I said, height disadvantage there. And when you look back and watch the replay of that, or when you look back at that play, had Amik been, maybe 2-3 inches taller, with a longer wingspan, he might have been able to break up that what ended up being a touchdown pass. So, um, you know, I think they're going to have to find some creative role for him if they are going to keep him on the team. Um, I don't see why they couldn't have him as a nickel corner, behind Hobbs, especially if they're going to be rotating guys like that in and out.
I said, dude,
I
Meek
mean,
plays good. Meek Robinson plays good in slants, drags, things of those factors. Like he gets in there, he can cut those lanes off. I think that's where he's excelled the most, in my opinion.
mhm,
Backside of curl routes, things of those factors. I've said his number one plague is one-on-one downfield. Anybody bigger
right,
than him, he's gonna lose the battle. So if you knew that you can bring him in and put him in a 5 DB or something and know that a player is going to go into the slant or into a drag or something of that
right,
fact, basically playing down on the inside of the field, then you can use him all day long. He would be dangerous. The problem is if you're trying to put him on the outside to match up on a fucking player, dude, and then that player decides to go deep and his job is to stay man with them and no coverage over the top, he's gonna get burned. I don't care. I do
right,
not give a fuck. I mean, 9 out of 10 if he gets one, great, but we can just count touchdown after touchdown, and especially like I keep saying, like when you're playing in the division, man, and you got a guy like Johnson, you got to keep that shit in mind all the time because that dude being added over there with Williams, I mean, you're talking about two big ass motherfuckers, and Keelan Allen burnt his ass last year into the end zone.
right,
So it's stuff you got to keep aware that all three of them dudes are gonna burn his ass one on one for sure. So when you look at those things and you're matching your players, and you're trying to fight into the playoffs, and that's a division spot that you got to fight into, and you got him out there. I mean, he becomes a liability, I think, in those deals. But it's like I said, if you're looking at Peters, Hobb, Bennett, Facem, and those are like your outside dudes, and in your slot, Hobbs being your slot. Then you're looking at Robertson and Shelley. Well, I don't think there's so much of a liability anymore because, like I said, as long as you were able to keep Meek down into the front inside, then I think you'd be able to keep them. But if you're, like I said, you can't use them any other way. You have to use them in that way. That's the only way I think he works.
Yeah, you're really gonna have to use him in the right situation. But another thing that bothers me too a little bit is like me and you, Dustin, like we looked at the rating, like the result and the score sheet, where Amik was resulted as like a really good, like one of the best corners in zone coverage, but he's just bad at man
Yeah,
coverage.
and
So
that's my point. That's
that's
my
gonna be
exact
like
point.
if he's like on the team still, he's gonna be like a wild card because since Graham wants us to transition to more of a like a press man coverage, like he wants to like step a little bit away from the zone coverage. Amik's gonna have to like show what he can do like 1v1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
just
still think me picking off people in camp right now. I mean, it's still he must be in the right place at the right time, even in the system. You know, like I get it. You know, you can get lucky every now and again, but this guy went from last year in the season, same thing. Now he's back over here, one of the people doing it. Like, can't neglect it if he's, you know what I mean? Like, if we're giving the other guys credit and they're one, so he's got to get his too, because he's obviously, like, the thing I'm saying is he's obviously in the right place in year 2 in the system. Like, he obviously knows it. You know what I mean? Like, I've said it, like, I'm not an Nick Robinson fan in any way, shape, or form, but I've always said, like, when a guy is a 53-man player, it's harder to get him off the team. Like, in the all years he's been here, he has made the 53-man roster. No matter how we've looked at him, judge him, how his gameplay or not, he's always been there. And then, like, when you bring in all these people and you're sitting here saying, like, Webb and Hall, like, Hall's gonna have to beat him. And Hall ain't showing up. Nobody's talking about Hall, so Hall probably ain't getting that job. I've yet to hear his name even be called. And then Shelly's an outside player, so he's not even going to be compared into Amit. And then Webb, in all honesty, like I've said, just because Devontae's talking about him doesn't mean that he's just going to come to the deal. He's not a 53-man player. He was a 53-man player last year because of injury, and they reverted to him. Like I've said, like, I think Webb is going to have to step up like a substantial amount to be able to take somebody off that roster. And even if he did take someone off the roster, like, I would see him taking Shelly off the roster before he took Robertson off the roster, because Webb plays in the outside. He is a man corner, and Shelly, I feel like Shelly, it doesn't play in the inside. He's already said it. He said, if you want to see my worst ball played, just put me on the inside. So I would assume that Webb would knock off Shelly. Like, so it'd be Webb face him, Hobbs, Bennett, Peters, and Roberts, because I think Roberts would be used in the inside. That's my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, that's my opinion. And I think, just in my opinion, I just think in those deals, like I said, Robertson's showing up more than Shelly's showing up, and Webb's already got an interception in camp, and Shelly has it. You know what I mean? So, and I would prefer the bigger corners in the outside. Like, I don't give a fuck, dude. I don't care what anybody says or thinks or not. Like, I want bigger corners, dude. Like, I don't want no small ass corners. And I've always said, like, Robertson bugs me, dude. Fucking Shelly bugs me. I mean, Hall, as long as he's played in the slot, I can give two shits. But I think, like, when you show up to a game, dude, and you're, like, sitting here facing up two good, tall players, I'd love to know my fucking corner is at least 6 foot plus, dude. Like, I'd love to know that at least, because then he got long arm, he can jump up there and get the ball out. But, like, fuck Robertson. I mean, motherfucker, he can jump up in the air, and the guy still goes in higher than him. So, I don't know.
Hey, I mean, credits to Nick if he can get it done. I mean, I really like I really loved his moments during the last season. Hopefully that turns into more and more moments this upcoming season. I mean, like that, like the interception, like against, like in the Cardinals game, like I had that as like my lock screen on my phone for a while, just because that was like a perfect shot. I hope there's like more of that we get to see out of him, especially since I hope he just kind of like training camp. I hope he just knows how to find more opportunities against offenses. Like, hopefully that's like what they're trying to teach him on the defense, especially like Peters and stuff, where he's like, hey, your height's going to give you a big disadvantage, so just do this, like bait the quarterback to throw the ball at him.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's doing, because it just seemed like last year, he showed up in a lot of places. You know what I mean? Like, he showed up in a lot of places, and he had a few big moments in the season last year. Not just one, but 2 or 3. So, like I said, if you can teach him to see it a little better and be in better position. I mean, I always keep saying that dude that played for the Broncos, man, back in the mid 2000s, that winners, whatever that dude's name. He was a small fucking corner, but that motherfucker was dangerous, dude. Like he was always in the right places and always hitting dudes at the right time. Like he just knew how to do it. And I've always said, like, just because he knows doesn't mean other people know, like, because they're small. But I think, like, I think if Meek can get it down, he could be like that guy. But look, you don't always have to have all man players, even if you're in a man scheme, because no matter what, you're going to still be in zone plays sometimes, and especially down in goal lines and things of those factors, dude, you're going to still have a zone player sitting right there down in those boxes. So, like I said, it ain't going to hurt. And the only reason why I say is like, as you're looking at Long, Hernan, Cosby, fucking, Isaac Perryman, which I think Perryman's on the IR anyways, or I think he is, but I still think Roberts is better than most of those dudes, if not all of them. Just period. I mean, I've said he's just been a backup player on the other teams, but here in camp, I haven't heard him doing shit. And like I said, the core players that are doing it, man, it's like the core player units. You know what I mean, dude? Like, Morik's popping up, Epps is fucking showing up, dude. Like, you got a lot of dudes are just popping up out of nowhere right now. So I think it's like I said, I think maybe the defense, I think Graham may have got his players together, dude, over there that actually did help turn that defense around, because I think, like I've always said, like I'm big Q on, dude. Like he's always said, like when too many things start happening in a row, it's no longer coincidence anymore. You know what I mean? Like you can call coincidence after a few things, but you're not going to call coincidence after it just keeps repeatedly happening over and over and over. And this defense is consistently all week long just popping up, bat, 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 one player after another after another. When Marcus Peters showed up here and took Bennett under his wing, I mean, all of a sudden, what do you know? Like, what do you know? I started talking about this dude before that shit happened, too. I talked about that shit before that happened. And long story short, I said Bennett would probably be the number 2 corner. That dude's fucking quick. He has a play style. He has elite coverage, getting after players, dude. And then now you have a player that in Peters where people were like, oh, he's not even going to start. And I was like, bullshit. I don't even know where that's even coming from. But again, you get the dude that comes in here and now he can teach that kid what he's teaching him, just like a little puppy. Like it's like Papa dog teaching puppy dog. You know what I mean? Like, and this dude's just popping up, dude, and he's playing really, really, really good football. So I look, man, I think like all this shit people talk on Ziegler and Josh, dude, I mean, I think these guys just figure out the right people at the right moment that are going to, like Splain's going to help that defense massively. Like Splain's got Epps is going to be another massive ad there, fucking Peters, another massive ad over there, dude. Like, I just think like these are key fucking people at the right moments that are going to make your team turn those corners, dude. And I think like when you're looking at it, it's like the DT, you're going to kind of look more towards younger, but Tillery and Nichols are showing up in camp, dude. Fucking Jenkins has showed up in camp. Adam Butler showed up in camp. And Jade has showed up in camp massively. I mean, like I said, I've said it from day one, Jade's going to be a storm wrecker.
Nick, they said they've been saying that with when Byron Young and Neil Farrell were gone, Jade is looking like a starting nose tackle, and especially this I didn't know because he never really showed this in college, but they didn't realize either that he is showing versatility. Like they put him on the edge, so like he's been playing on the edge and as a nose tackle too. And he's been
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
balling out, which is funny because every single photo I see of Jade, he's always nearby the freaking water stuff. He's always covered in water.
yeah, I ain't gonna lie. If that guy can pop up and cover that gap, dude, and eat up some space in there and get after people, that's all that it matters at the end of the day. And when you're looking at Farrell Jr., Young, like they're all young and been invested, so like I can see them all being there no matter what, you know, like Jenkins and Matthew Butler, Adam Butler, like all those guys. I mean, can probably be liabilities, and I still think Matthew Butler isn't just going to be cut unless he's just garbage. You know, like unless he's just garbage, then I'd cut him because then you don't really have much loss. But it's going to be hard, you know, and with that much depth, again, you have all that depth in here sitting here talking about, like, fuck, man, I'm going to cut this guy. Like, that's your second. You just picked him up last year, you know what I mean? So, and I don't know if Ziegler would want to do that unless he's just horrible, you know, but don't get me wrong, Ziegler ain't going to give two fucks either. If he's bad, he's bad. Like, Ziegler ain't going to be, you can already tell, Ziegler ain't going to be in his ego and be like, oh, I drafted him. I'm a whole, no, hell no. Ziegler would be like, nope, that dude's shit. Let's get rid of him. Bye bye.
I mean, dude's got to remember how many defensive linemen he drafted in 2 years.
That's what I'm saying. That's why when I'm looking at this, I'm sitting here thinking like Jade Young, Farrell, dude, like all three of them dudes are probably going to be better than Butler. But Butler hasn't really, like, Butler ain't no slouch either, man. So I don't want to just say like Jade and all them are going to be better, but listen, Jade can probably be better than all of them. Just to be honest, dude, like how good this dude's showing up, how everybody's talking about him, dude, and even like people are saying like he's taking camp by storm right now. When you start seeing things like that, man, I've said it. I don't give a fuck what round somebody comes in the draft. The draft is just somebody's opinion. It don't mean shit, dude. And if this dude comes up in the 7th round and just comes out there and dominates, dude, like more power to him. And I've said it, some dudes even show up even more when it's game day. You know what I mean? Like when it comes game time, they're like, yep, you're mine. And that's kind of what I want to see right here in the preseason, dude. Like I want to see this dude eat up in that inside, give our outside dude some time and just eat him. You know what I mean? So I just see him coming off that edge, dude. But still, like I said, we got a lot of players here that could be excited for. Young, you know, medium age and older players. I mean, like I said, I wasn't too much for the Peters deal. I said I wouldn't have probably signed him until after we were into camp. But by them signing him, obviously showed that they didn't feel like there was the two starting players here on our roster to be two starting corners. So for them to pick up Peters and then see the production out of Bennett because of Peters, I think that was very smart on Ziegler's behalf, or Josh, whoever was the one that like advocated for him, because I think it was a very smart move in my opinion. I think it's a very, very smart move. Like I didn't really, like I said, I called him old and so on, but I feel like once you're seeing the production and seeing what he's bringing now, it's like I'll eat my words instantly about it. You know, I'm not waiting, months. Like I said, I think he's going to bring shit to this team that we've waited on. Let's just say Bennett may have showed up, but just showed up later in the year. You know what I mean? Like maybe even towards the end of the year, where like right now you feel like Bennett can probably come out shooting on all cylinders like right this second. And I don't think he would have did that to the fullest that he's doing right now if it wasn't for Peters.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, I would say that, the value of Marcus Peters was, or still is, a veteran presence who, in theory, can coach up, the younger likes of guys like Ja'Cory Bennett, to say nothing of, relatively new guys still, and, Sam Webb, other guys, all across the board, obviously by far, Marcus Peters is the oldest in that room with the most experience, most accomplishments, and any way you want to cut it. So, it's going to be interesting if, because as you point out, Sergio, I heard the same thing about Marcus Peters and Ja'Cory Bennett being the two outside boundary corners. it's going to be an interesting sort of let's just say duo, if you will, between very old and experienced and young and fresh and but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's going to be an interesting duo, interesting sort of juxtaposition between the two of them. Like I said, old and experienced, young and raw. So hopefully, Dracorian can take some pointers from Marcus Peters. I personally am still sort of worried about the kind of mileage they can get out of Peters as far as on the field play. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if, due to injury or maybe speed at this point, because last year he had a pretty good year. He didn't have a great year. Um, I'm not exactly sure, what level of play we're going to get out of him. So, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he sort of maybe takes a step back as know.
You got this. You got this, Jeff. As the hourglass goes on and on and on. I don't know. What do you think? Do you have anything else you want to add to it, Sergio, until he gets back, or what?
Not much. Just I guess I mean it was. I don't know. It's just credits to people that fight for the spots and win it, and hopefully we get to keep some of these valuable guys on the practice squad. Like if Sam Webb doesn't make it, I hope he stays on the practice squad then.
I mean, I think unless somebody just tries to get him, you know what I mean? And that's why I'm just saying, like, where Shelley would become the cut. You know what I mean? Because of Sam, if he's producing to that level, because at one point or not, you're gonna have to take a risk of putting a player over there if you're keeping somebody like Shelley. You know what I mean? So like if you're gonna keep Shelley and sacrifice Webb going to the practice squad, starting to develop, starting to be a good player, another team's going to be watching that. You know what I mean? And it could even be a motherfucker from our division, which is even the worst things that I hate the most. So, and again, Webb has all the height, the tangibles. Like this is how I look at it. Like if you put Webb over there with the capability of actually having a room to grow and develop, and at his age with his measurements and his tangibles, if we were to take Duke Shelley and take Webb and put them both on the practice squad, I'm willing to bet someone takes Webb before they take Shelley. Like I'm willing to bet money on it. So at that point, that's why I'm saying, like, if you're reverting Webb back to the practice squad in year 2 with the hype that Devontae's talked, him picking out, he was the first one to get an interception in camp, and then you're just sacrificing him over there. You already know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? You probably want to try to trade him, I think, at that point, or try to do something because somebody's going to try to pull him off there instantly. I mean, and again, it would just suck if it's in the division or even the Saints or some stupid, you know what I mean? It's just stupid shit where I feel like Shelley's just hype of people, what they said, what he's done in the NFC over there and the Vikings, everything like that. I mean, I have a way different take than most people probably would with that, the way that came out anyways. But again, I'm not going to discredit a player doing what he did to begin with. But I've also said, like, he's 5'9", he can only do so much. You know what I mean? Unless he's physically just running off a player and running up him to jump up and knock the ball out or something, like, he can only do so much at a certain point, dude. But eventually he's going to get outplayed by height, outplayed by speed, outplayed by just straight fucking taller, dude. One-on-one tangible skill. And I've even said, like, if you don't keep looking back to that Keelan Allen play where you're looking at Robinson, where he's cutting off dudes in the short route, dude. So he's like, bop, 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 you know, and then all of a sudden, like I said, they went deep and beat him over the top. My thing with Shelley is he's no different than him. He might get him put in better positions. He might know how to wait till a player's in the air and coming down before he jumps. You know, like he might use that type of shit to his advantage where he's not contesting the individual height for height. What he might do is he might do it a little different where he can gain a little advantage is where he allows the dude to go up for it. And then where he's going to try to get it is when the player's coming down with his contact. You know what I mean? That's where I can see him having an advantage there. But at the same time, like that would be risky football, you know, like that's risky ball to where I think like you put a guy like Webb out there. I don't care if the dude's 6'4" or not, dude. He still has to sit there and compete with this dude at 6'6" or 6 foot 6'1". What is he? 6'1"? Is he 6 foot? 6'1"? Webb?
Oh, he's 6'2".
So 6'2". You see what I'm saying? Like him on Johnson, you got a 2-inch difference, dude, where he can jump and he does. I said Webb looked like a fucking linebacker out there in his pads and shit sometimes. So like I said, I would fucking cut Shelley for Webb. Like if it was me, I would cut Shelley for Webb. Like straight the fuck up. So
Especially
I don't care.
since, in my opinion, like you don't want to keep too many short guys.
No, hell no. I said, yeah, fuck, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I personally think that like you know Sam Webb could be one of those guys who maybe doesn't end the year at the top of the depth chart. He's not the number one, you know, one of the boundary corners, but I really think he could be in the mix, especially if, you know, as Sergio pointed out earlier, that, you know, if they rock with, you know, 5 or 6 guys at corner, I think it'd be somewhere like number 3 or 4. You know, I mean, obviously, to me, there's a good amount of talent in this cornerback room, so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out, who gets what kind of playing time. But like I said, you know, I'm forecasting Marcus Peters ultimately sort of taking a step back as almost like a player coach. I just don't know if he's going to play the entire year. First of all, possibly due to injury, but second of all, like I said, I mean, due to age, he might, you know, I don't exactly know as far as on the play, you know, on the field production, what we're going to get out of him. So, like I said, I mean, I think his biggest value can still be, you know, coaching up these guys. I mean, obviously he'll get his reps and whatnot. And I think to start the regular season, he'll be the number one corner on one of those sides, and it'll be his job to lose. I just think there's still too much young talent. You know, and obviously this is a very fast league. You know, speed kills. So speed and being, you know, fresh and young is everything, especially at the corner position. So, don't be. I mean, I would guess that Jacorian Bennett would keep his spot for sure. I still don't know if Nate Hobbs is going to stay at nickel the entire year. I think that's. I mean, like I said, if Peters is playing at the top of his game, then okay, honestly, that would be really great. You know, if you could have somebody as talented as Nate Hobbs, obviously assuming he's able to stay healthy, you know, being there at that nickel spot, you know, not having to worry about playing the outside, that could be a really dangerous secondary on paper. So, but like I said, if indeed Nate Hobbs has to move to the outside, don't be surprised. I would say if Sam Webb doesn't take over that third spot, just based on.
Hey, I mean, like, I don't know, like, what's with all the reports that, like, Hobbs is, like, going to stay in the slot now, because he said out of his own mouth during a presser that he's going to be all over the field. Like, he isn't just going to be in the nickel. So they're going to put him in packages. They're going to put him on the outside. Like, they're going to make sure that Hobbs develops into his versatility. He's just probably majority of the time going to be in the nickel.
When you're playing 5 DBs, dudes are going to be in and out no matter what. So he's going to, and this is the thing I think is always funny about how people think it's shocking when they hear statements like that, because Ziegler literally fucking says it all the motherfucking time, dude. And Josh says it in their pressers about preseason. that players are going to play all over the motherfucking field, not
Right.
just in one position, dude. And they speak on this shit all the time. So I think it's just funny when people think like, oh man, that's like they're hearing it for the first time. You know what I mean? Like they speak on this shit avidly, dude. Like literally speak on this shit avidly. That in camp preseason, they're gonna have players playing all over the line differently, players playing in different spots. They want to know versatility
Don't
because of injury and things like
like
that. You
don't
know, so
trust the media people. Like everything
yeah,
that they say. Like we're gonna have to trust like our own fan base, like the people that are also watching them a lot. Like for an example, uh like Jermaine Illuminor, remember like I wanted to ask Dustin, like, hey, can you fact check this if like this is happening? Like Jermaine is like starting as a right guard. And then
Yeah, I
Jermaine
heard that.
fact checked it himself. He's like, nah, that ain't happening. And
yeah.
then
He said
they
no.
had the audacity to ask him, what's your source? Jermaine's like, oh yeah, I'm really good friends with Jermaine Illuminor and stuff like that.
Yeah, that kind of shit's funny as hell because
And
that's
then
the kind of
Jermaine
narrative
straight up
that.
he texted me
But
and he
see,
was
the
like,
part of me thinks like that's got to be kind of BS too because again, they've said that he's gonna play all over the line. You know what I mean? So to say that he's been in camp this whole time and hasn't taken a right guard snap, I mean, does that just mean that Moody is gonna just win it outright like that? You know, like I don't see Bars beating them, dude. Like I can't see Bars beating Moody, dude. Bars doesn't have good pass coverage, dude. Like you're gonna need somebody there to help hold for Garoppolo, dude. Like Moody will eat up in the run and got pass coverage. Like that's all I say. Unless Barr just took some fucking crazy leap out here this next year that he can, just popped up in his pass coverage. I don't know. I don't know if I'd roll with him and then Curtis or any of them. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
it's
know.
weird, like, because you can say, like, either one is BSing, like, I mean, because Jermaine, like, was straight up just texting me, and he was, like, talking about how, like, we don't accept BS media reports
Yeah,
on the roster.
yeah. That's why I just think like, yeah, I don't know because he took the right guard and right tackle last year. You know what I mean? And I did hear that, the dude did recant like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it, or I might have misseen it, or something of that. But part of me feels like I don't think he did. Like part of me just feels like I don't think he did because Ziegler, Priscilla, fucking Josh, they all say like the offensive line. He even said it in the beginning of the camp. We can pull up the presser right now where he said on the presser that the dudes are going to be playing all over the line. Like he literally said it straight up in Josh's first presser in the camp. And that's why I'm just saying like Josh's words and Ziegler's words were the only way a player is not going to be playing all over the line is if they're just that good at that one spot. You know what I mean? So did we just all of a sudden get Illuminor is like that good at the right tackle? Like he was rated one of the best at the end of the seasons, dude, at the end of the season. So I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a lot there, you know. He said I have a question for y'all. Do y'all feel Jimmy G is better QB than DC? I mean, I think that's just going to come down to when the season starts to determine that, man. Robert, I don't want to determine somebody like if you're asking me like stats. Hell no, I think DC smokes them out of the water. I mean, I would argue the fact that Jimmy got a lot of those wins being on the Patriots and the Niners team in general. Period. I mean, if we took DC and put DC over there and gave him Jimmy's roles in that, I mean, Carr's going to be probably better. You know what I mean? So I just don't. Carr got a better arm, better deep accuracy, more fourth quarter comebacks, more touchdowns, interceptions. And they've been in the league the exact same time. So, like I said, I think it just depends on how people are looking at it. I think how it is. I think if Jimmy gets here and he goes out this year and he's in the system and he works better, then we can answer this question then. You know, so I think what how we have to look at this conversation in general is Jimmy better for the team in this system now, like here. You know what I mean? If you're just asking me, is Jimmy better than Carr overall? Fuck no. Hell fucking no. Like, you ain't gonna get me to ever say that he is. And I don't care about his fucking wins, dude. Like, I've said he got a 12-2 record with no fucking touchdowns scored. You don't, that doesn't work around here, dude. And I've even said like giving like Jimmy a better offense, better defense than Carr has had the whole entire 9 years he's been here. I think it's kind of bullshit too. So, like I said, I think at the end of the day, for me to be able to evaluate him fairly, I would have to just say when the season starts and we get into 4 games, does Jimmy look better in the system with the players than Carr did in his first 4 in the system? Like, that's the only way I can do it, man, to be honest, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, to me, the tough part of that question is the word better. I mean, because first of all, Carr, I would say, has he has health over Jimmy, so that right then and there, if you're considering that
Fact.
better as far as who would you roll with, because that matters too, right? You could be the most talented of all time if you can't stay on the field, then it's kind of moot. But um, I think at least as far as what we know now, and I think that this era of Jimmy G with the Raiders is really going to be telling as far as how well can Jimmy G play when the situation around him isn't ideal, because obviously we've seen with the 49ers, which is obviously his best claim to the best part of his career, obviously. Lights out defense and really good run game. So if those two things, if the Raiders can't get to the 49ers level, it's going to rely more on Jimmy. Now, if we were starting from ground zero and I was like in a more of a rebuild or retool kind of mode, I would probably go with Carr. So, and like that's why I said depends when I answer your question, because depending on what you want to do, I think overall, like if you want to say that, call that intrinsically the better quarterback, I would probably go with Carr. But I mean, there is something to be said for clutchness, which obviously Jimmy G has shown in certain in certain moments, especially in the playoffs. The one that sticks in my mind was that one throw he had to end the game against the Packers in the playoffs a couple years ago. Obviously that kind of stuff matters, and especially when you're talking about maybe an equally important play. For Derek Carr, he's leading the team down the field, had a chance to tie the game against the Bengals and throws that interception. Is Jimmy G throwing an interception there? That's the question. That's a question you also have to ask yourself. So, hopefully, as we've all been told, Jimmy G is a better scheme fit. He understands the offense better. Probably won't take as many chances down the field as Carr did or does. So I guess McDaniels likes that. I did read a stat today. I saw a stat today that said I think the Raiders were tied for first in yards per touchdown on average last year. Which at first somebody might look at that and say
Salute,
that's good.
Michael. Appreciate you, bro.
But first of all, obviously that in and of itself is not the most meaningful stat. Because it really just things that matter more in terms of offense are in total how many touchdowns do you score, how many points a game do you average, that sort of stuff. But I think what might be telling about that stat. Oh, you guys hear me? Oh, my back. There we go.
Yep.
Yeah. What might be telling about that stat is that the Raiders were scoring too quickly. You think about that long touchdown run that Josh Jacobs had to end the game against the Seahawks. You probably could look at maybe some long bombs that Carr threw to Devontae. Um, Sometimes if you score too quickly, you allow the other offense to sort of fight fire with fire and maybe even control the clock, the time of possession. So maybe McDaniels is looking to, because obviously Jimmy G doesn't have the biggest arm in the world. Maybe for what they're trying to do, he's the better quarterback in the sense that he's not going to launch it down the field as much because he can't, because he's not that kind of quarterback. And so we might start to see the Raiders start to have more longer possessions that can take up more of the clock and maybe start to control the game a lot more as opposed to just like quick scoring, right? Which, especially when you think about going against the Chiefs actually finished in the bottom 5 in terms of yards per touchdown last year, if you can believe it. So to me, that means that even the Chiefs, as high octane as their offense can be at times, in general, they had drives that consisted of many more plays than the Raiders did, probably. And probably, if you look back at the time possession, they probably did a much better job than the Raiders did last year. So, like I said, as far as a quarterback goes, it kind of depends on what you want. But like I said, I mean, for this team, for McDaniels, it seems like the way in which he wants to win is more of a Jimmy G oriented kind of approach than a Derek Carr kind of approach. But like I said, if I was starting from ground zero, from scratch, I would probably take Carr as opposed to Jimmy G, which is I think was the Saints approach, trying to sort of retool or rebuild their roster. They felt that Derek Carr was a more appropriate choice. So that's sort of my long answer to the question.
And I
Sergio,
think
did you?
to answer, like, if Jimmy had enough time to learn all the plays in his his playbook, what I would say is that I think he would have a little more familiarity learning it because he's already played in it before. So what I would just say is that it probably is not going to take him as long to be able to get to that point to begin with. Oh fuck! I gotta take this call, dude. Fucking. Hey, salute, Al. You hear me, Jeff? Hey, I gotta take the call. I'll be back.
Okay. Word. Yo, salute Al's Ghost. Thanks for coming in. So yeah, what did either of you guys, Sergio or Al's Ghost, want to weigh in on the whole, I guess, Jimmy G versus Derek Carr? I know we've talked about this at great length and it's sort of gotten old, but Dustin and I both answer the question. So if you guys wanted to.
I don't really want to speak on that. Just because it's been spoke about like so many times.
Yeah. I mean, like I mean, the way I look at it is, there's there are different ways to win, and obviously, and I think it became pretty obvious. But you know, the way in which Derek Carr, I guess, his tendencies, he was not a McDaniels guy. Like I don't, and when you think, I mean, Brady had an arm, obviously, and I don't have the stats. Maybe I could look it up, but I guess because any other quarterback would this would definitely be true. Overall, on average, the air yards per attempt, if you will, how much of a riverboat gambler are you? Maybe Brady wasn't really the biggest riverboat gambler, so to try to throw down the field a lot, maybe it's something that makes McDaniels nervous. That's probably why he has a lot of slot guys, a lot of guys who, as far as receiver goes, a lot of guys who specialize in, on average, shorter, smaller route trees and shorter depth of target, that sort of thing. So Like I said, it depends on how you want to run an offense. It's not as simple as who's better all the time, right? It's just, different. Everybody does different things well, right? So it's, um, yeah. I was Ghost. Did you want to weigh in? Um, but yeah. So, like I say, yeah, as Sergio pointed out, we sort of talked about this at great lengths. So we're blue in the face, as the saying goes. But Sergio, why don't we, speaking of receivers, especially of the slot variety, why don't we go on to your next topic, which is, just about how, when you say Tucker, I assume we're talking about slot receiver and new draft pick Trey Tucker and how he's
Well, yeah.
proving Zeke. Yeah, go.
So what I mean by like is Tucker proving Ziegler right? Like when we drafted, like when we were going through the draft, right? It was really good. Like we got Tyree Wilson. Some
Hmm.
people really liked it. Some people were not really that uh, fond of it. And then Michael Mayer, amazing pick, awesome draft pick. And then Byron Young, it's okay, it's solid. And then we get to Trey Tucker, and that's like the first time that like during the draft where like a lot of us were kind of scratching our heads at first. And then now with like training camp since like day one of like the entire like summer when it's like from rookie camp to now to training camp, like Tucker's just been balling out in every category that they put him in, just in every situation, like in punt returns, kick returns, on in the slot, on the outside, when it comes to just being a vertical threat, a deep threat, or just try to be a middle of the field threat. Like this guy has just been he just keeps winning. Like I haven't heard like a single report where the dude like is messing up or he's kind of going down or an interception got thrown toward when they meant to target towards him. So it's kind of looking like now that like not Ziegler, Tucker is making himself very valuable as the 100th pick of the draft, as the late third round pick. So yeah, it's coming, kind of seeming like Tucker's just showing Ziegler that he knows like what he's doing when he evaluates and picks players and like who's going to be on this team. So then it just like comes to the question to me personally now, like, is Tucker just that fourth receiver where he's just like they'll just throw him in whenever they want to use like four receivers, or if they use three receivers but they want to use them all on the outside, like that's kind of like what it's looking like. So yeah, I mean, like big credits to Tucker because the dude he hasn't like slowed down at any rate. Like his stocks just keep going up like every day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, this is a guy who, you know, they made a pretty sizable investment in being what I would consider their big wide receiver draft pick sort of move. Um, you know, once again, arguably a prototypical McDaniel's kind of guy. Being a slot guy. Um, it's interesting when you sort of think about how the team, this offseason as opposed to um, this past year, how they sort of retooled the wide receiver core. I mean, obviously, you don't have. You could argue that they traded. In fact, they actually did exactly do this, which was um, they replaced Darren Waller with Trey Tucker. So, being that the being that the pick that they used on the trade they got from Waller was indeed Trey Tucker. So yeah, it's like I said. I mean, it's an interesting sort of change in identity for this offense, for the kind of weaponry they have now. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's good to hear that Trey Tucker is doing well because this could arguably be um, one of the new biggest weapons, especially in the McDaniel's offense, that can really show his show his talent, show it with, and when you look.
And just looks like everyone is just having technical difficulties today. Sorry to everyone in the chat. And then anyone that doesn't know, Dustin's right now, he's taking a call. Just having technical difficulties. Ghost was on here for a sec, and then I guess he's having technical difficulties. So it's just a technical difficulty type of evening right now. I keep saying technical difficulties wrong.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Word. Yeah, so I was just saying, it was good to hear. What exactly have you heard? Because I personally have not heard.
On what specifically? StreamYard is acting up on you. How's goes? Kind of just seems like it's acting up on everyone today. Like everyone, I guess, just acting up on everyone.
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah.
you now.
So no, what I was asking.
And now I can't hear you.
I was asking what have you heard about Trey Tucker, like out of camp specifically? Because I haven't heard a lot.
Oh yeah. So what like the common reports have been about Trey Tucker is that he's been like connecting with like every single quarterback, like Jimmy G, O'Connell, Hoyer. Whenever they want to take like a risk, they just go to him right away. And he's been taking advantage of like everyone just focusing on Adams and stuff. So he's able to like be like a sneaky like speedster that like no one sees coming. And then when it comes to like leadership and development, like he's just been immediately just being like a good developmental leader in the locker room and stuff like that. And he's been catching like what they say like uncatchable like post routes and stuff like that, and how no one's been able to like catch him or like keep up with him since like he's too fast and stuff like that. So no one's been able to be quick enough to shut him down yet. So it's kind of just looking like right now that like Tucker's like making a name for himself in like the as a deep threat and like the vertical shift left right to field type of routes, the post routes and stuff like that. And then when it comes on special teams, like they've been saying that him and Carter have been doing really well in like the returns and stuff, that like if they can utilize both of their speed, then it's a really good rotation that they can use.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean that does make sense. I mean, obviously that is a great point, about him being able to eat that much more, and by eat I mean be open, because Devontae is obviously drawing so much attention from the defense that um, he very well could be carve out a role for himself in this offense, um, as something that I definitely said on the show before, something that I think this team really could have a use for is a true wide receiver too. So doing exactly as you've just described. Like obviously, not being the most talented or the most productive receiver on the team, but in a lot of ways, maybe sometimes seeming that way just because, the coverage is such that, an alpha male like Devontae Adams is going to draw so much attention and coverage, um, and things of that nature, from a defense, that you have a guy like Trey Tucker, who, especially given his speed, um, could maybe, turn some heads and maybe turn in a pretty productive season this year.
The internet is just not everyone's friend today.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to end it in a couple minutes, but yeah, like I said, the sweet spot is probably around like 800 yards, something like that, somewhere in that neighborhood. As far as a good sort of level of production, I think we could expect from Trey Tucker, especially if he turns out to be the wide receiver that we think he could be. Um, uh, so Sergio, was there any like last words you wanted to add before I end it for the night?
Um, just salute to everyone in the chat and salute to everyone that was here on the panel. Um, yeah, just everyone, just have a good night. If Dustin's not gonna be on here, I guess I'll just say it for him. Don't drink and drive, because I forgot the whole thing he says. I think it's like something like, if you do something stupid, or like you do something stupid, you're gonna get stupid prizes or something like that. So
Well, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
yeah, the internet is a Chiefs fan tonight. Yeah, that's exactly right, Elskos. The internet is a Chiefs fan tonight. So yeah, everyone just have a good night. Salute to the people in the chat. Salute to everyone who's here on the panel. See you on the next one.
Facts. Yeah, I mean, yeah, first and foremost, Sergio, thank you for sticking with me. Thank you to the members of this panel for joining me for another great broadcast. Thank you to the mods in the chat for holding it down all stream long. We wouldn't be able to do the show without you guys, and you know that. And last but certainly not least, thank you to our viewers for watching and commenting along with us. Um, as I said at the beginning of the broadcast, if you guys haven't already, if you wouldn't mind just taking a quick peek at the comments section to view our chat bot. That's our YouTube chat bot called the Nightbot. It has been posting various links to various platforms related to us here at DSR. So if you wouldn't mind just giving that a quick peek and following all those links to tap in with us on all those platforms, that would be greatly appreciated. Just give you guys a quick rundown of those platforms, just so you can take a look and sort of find all those links that the Nightbot has been posting. It's been giving you guys a link to our YouTube channel, the Death Star Report YouTube channel, the Nation Nightmare YouTube channel, which is our friend Cortez's, our panel member and friend Cortez's personal YouTube channel. So if you guys are on YouTube, if you haven't already, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, hit the notification bell, like as many videos as possible, and commenting on as many videos as possible. That'd be greatly appreciated. Also, take a look for the link to our Twitch channel, the Death Star Report on Twitch. If you guys haven't already, if you're on Twitch, if you wouldn't mind giving us a follow there, that'd be greatly appreciated. It's also give you guys a link to our Instagram account, the Death Star Report on Instagram. If you guys haven't already, if you're on Instagram, if you wouldn't mind liking some of our posts, as well as giving us a follow, and maybe even sharing our post not only to your story but to your friends over DMs. That'd be greatly appreciated. And last but not least, it also give you guys a link to our DSR Discord server. So if you guys haven't already, if you wouldn't mind joining us at the Discord community, that'd be greatly appreciated as well. It's a great community. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on there, and we'd really love for you guys to join. We have a Raiders chat, we have a general chat, we have promotional events like free giveaways. We talk about the NFL at large. We have fantasy leagues, both NBA and NFL. We're just now starting our NFL fantasy leagues. Zero buy-in, $25 to the winner of every league. So zero risk. 100% of the reward goes to you guys if you're able to win. So that's another great thing going on in there. We also have channels dedicated to various Raiders content creators on YouTube as well as Twitter and Instagram. We also have great weekend night events like free movie nights where we all get in the Discord and watch a movie together. And we also even have channels dedicated to sports updates on various platforms like Twitter and Instagram, so you guys can stay in the loop as well. So like I said, if you wouldn't mind also looking at the link to our Discord, checking us out at the DSR Discord server. It's a great community. We love to have you guys, and we do appreciate you guys for joining us there because it is the heart of what we do here at DSR. We also, so because this Sunday at 4 p.m., August 13th, is the Raiders' first game, the first preseason game of the 2023 NFL season. We will be having a live stream of that game in the Discord for that game. So that's even more of a reason to not only join the Discord, but to join as soon as possible so you guys can check out that game. Because obviously if A, you don't have access to the game in general, or B, you'd like to watch it with a bunch of friends, that's a great opportunity for you guys to do that as well. So like I said, hop in the Discord and try to join, especially before this Sunday, August 13th at 4 p.m. We'd love to have you guys. So thank you guys once again in advance for not only joining us at the DSR Discord server, but also, like I said, the Nation Nightmare YouTube channel, the Death Star Port YouTube channel, the Death Star Port Twitch channel, and last but not least, the Death Star Port on Instagram. So like I said, if you guys wouldn't mind looking at the Nightbot in the comments section to find all those links, that'd be greatly appreciated. And we do thank you guys in advance for tapping in. Other than that, we should be having another broadcast tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time, so our regularly scheduled time tomorrow. We will continue to go over a whole bunch of great topics, especially surrounding training camp, so tap in for that as well. But like I said, other than that, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. Check out those links. Make sure to tune in not only to our broadcast tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time, but also the live stream of the first Raiders preseason game against the 49ers Sunday, August 13th. So this Sunday at 4 p.m. So like I said, got a bunch of great stuff going on this weekend and through this week in general as well. Once again, thank you, Sergio, for joining me and sticking with me this long. Thank you to the members of this panel in general. Thank you to the mods in the chat. And last but certainly not least, thank you to our viewers for watching and commenting along with us. We salute you guys. See you guys tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Other than that, have a great night, guys. And let's go Raiders.
Wake up to the sounds of the silence that allows for my mind to run around with my ear up to the ground. I'm certain.
Salute, guys. Have a good night.